And I'm pleased to announce that this year's winners are Jane Vashti Ryan and Harrison Tippet from RMIT. And their win is for The Invisible Line, which was broadcast on Newsline, Channel 31 earlier this year. The judges said that the entrants, Jane and Harrison, have crafted a highly watchable story which maintains viewer interest from beginning to end. They have used the TV medium to great effect, travelling to Eildon to capture vision of the invisible line that divides inner and outer students applying for the Independent Youth Allowance. The piece is backed and informed by sound research. It is an interesting yarn on a solid issue which would not be out of place on an evening news bulletin. A worthy winner in a strong field. Congratulations. If I could ask them to come forward. I should also mention the judges highly commended Matthew Smith from La Trobe University for Future Tense ABC National Radio. Congratulations to Matthew as well.
Harrison, you did a fantastic job with your project. How did you get the idea in the beginning?
Jane?
Well, I really enjoy following the news through the summer months when Parliament's not sitting. Some of the issues that affect people in a pretty big way but on a fairly small scale sometimes tend to bleed through in the press, and I really noticed a couple of reports on this issue and decided to follow it up and see where it was actually going. And the more I pursued it, the more I realised that it was a really huge scale issue that was given very little coverage, and I thought that it was important to give that particular issue a little bit more a voice.
One of the things I noticed you did was you really cut to the chase right at the beginning. You got the issue nailed. How did you sort of want to approach that?
I mean, we had so much time to really study the issue and look into it. So, I mean, we prepared fairly well it was for a university assignment to begin with, and we had plenty of time to get ready. And then we had Fiona Nash, the senator, helping us out, and her media handler, Nikki Wilkinson, was very, very helpful. So, I mean, we just had, I think preparation was key, I suppose.
Well, basically as well, I mean, when we went up there, it was Fiona Nash who alerted us to the fact that the guidelines were actually based on health provision guidelines. And it was a set of maps that we could actually access on the internet. And when we were able to do that and actually really unpack the areas that were most affected by these arbitrary lines going through the middle of residential areas, we were able to discover Eildon in particular, which was a town that had Skyline Road going straight through the middle, which had one of those lines going through it. And we thought, well, what the hell, we'll drive to Eildon, we'll stand on the road, we'll highlight the issue that way so as people can really understand how arbitrary it is. And then while we were there, we were able to talk to people who were actually affected by it, so it was really good.
In opening the story that way, you immediately established the story beautifully. Who came up with the invisible line?
I don't even know anymore.
I think the thing about the story was because the invisible line was such a key issue. I mean,
the
crux of the story was
the
crux of the story is that you can live across the road from someone and have to spend an extra year. So I suppose when we found out it was the health provision lines, we got on Google Maps, of course, as you do, and we found the best spot for it. So Skyline Road it was, and
Skyline being perfectly named, and from then on it was the invisible line.
You did lots of travel. What was the hardest part of covering the story for you guys?
Oh, well, we drove to Canberra, and that was actually really difficult because we drove overnight. We've both got casual jobs, we both do different work as well as studying full time, and so we had to actually travel to Canberra to interview Fiona Nash overnight. We arrived at about 5 o'clock in the morning, slept for a couple of hours, and then spent half the day up at Parliament House. I think my mum had a bit to deal with when we stayed with her that night, and she fed us dinner. She never wished more. I don't think that I wasn't her daughter than that night, but we got a bit of sleep, and the next day we had to drive back and get back into it straight away. So that element was really difficult, I think, just getting the hours in and in such a small timeline.
Unreliable cars as well.
Yeah.
That's never helpful.
In cutting it back to the 4 minutes, you really cut to the chase and made it a very accessible story. Was it hard to condense it down to that? That was the skill, I thought, in really telling the story well.
It was
Fiona Nash.
Yeah, Fiona Nash was good with that. Like, we had a lot of different issues that we wanted to cover within the same story, but we realised the more that we researched, the smaller the parameters became, and the more important it was to give full credence to this one issue. So we went to see Fiona, and the way she whittled it down in a few really great sound bites gave us a lot of direction. And then also in talking to other people who look out for students in regional areas, like the head of the Tertiary Education Union in Victoria, she was able to just say, you know, what the hell? And that really gave us a lot of sort of direction as well. So I think shaving it down was actually, despite what it usually is, which is where you collect all this collateral information over the course of researching something, the more we knew, the more refined it became and the more central the issue became. So it was really good like that.
We did go through a couple of stages where we had so much information though that we weren't sure what to put in and what to take out. Because Fiona Nash was wonderful. She gave us half an hour on a day where she was sitting in Parliament. So she gave us a lot, and she really...
Not that she didn't have an agenda.
Yeah.
I mean, crikey, she's in opposition, and it's her portfolio. So it was important for her to be saying those things.
Yes.
But
maybe a few stories came out of this.
Exactly, yeah.
What's been the reaction?
Well, the policy's been changed. I don't think you could say it's because of us, but it was definitely changed in June last year. It was changed so that now the guidelines for tertiary education access and youth allowance for kids in the country, there's actually no line between rural and inner regional and outer regional. That line's been eradicated. So it's the same for all kids now when they live in the country, unless they're in remote areas where they just get, straight away they get to go to uni and get youth allowance. If they're in any kind of regional area now, they just have to do the 1 year gap year and then they're off to school. So that's really good.
It was quite a silly policy to start off with, so there was no chance of us staying around for too long.
It's pretty arbitrary, yeah. So what does it mean to you to win this award? You've done exceptionally well as a strong field. You've won the award.
A bit of recognition's always really nice, especially when we're finishing off and we're about to go start looking for jobs. So it's very nice.
I'm proud of you, Harrison. I'm excited. I mean, I've bitten my nails down. They're never very glamorous, but I was a little nervous. Didn't sleep too much last night. I don't know. I really like gold stars on my forehead, so I'm really happy to have this one. And it's such an honour as well, given that the field was strong. You know, all the people who entered had something going for them, and so it's really exciting to be recognised when the competition's strong.
What's your advice to people following?
Find a good story and do it properly.
Yeah, it's pretty much that simple, isn't it? But get the experience you need to be able to refine it and whittle it down. I mean, you have to go out there and be prepared to do unpaid internships and follow the news hard so you understand the difference between a dud story and a good story. You need to follow certain journalists so you see how they work and see how they cover a story over a long period of time. And I think it's really only through observing other people at work that you learn how to do the job properly. And also just putting it to practice. I mean, no one asked us to drive to Canberra. It was a school assignment. We could have done
the stock story on
Swanston Street, I don't know, but
hip hop or graffiti.
We were excited about the, ability that we have as kids who are, lucky enough to live in town and have cars to be able to cover a story properly, and that's what we did.
I suppose it's important to challenge yourself as well, because like Jane said, we could have taken the easy options quite easily and still gotten a pass, but we wanted to do something a bit different and really earn a good grade for once.
What do you mean for once?
For me, for once.
You did it well, and all the technique in the world's no good without a great story. You had a really good story that mattered to people, so congratulations.
Thank you
very
so
much.
Thanks very much.